we're all giving too much. We're all doing too much. We don't have appropriate boundaries. We're operating under belief structures and paradigms of belief that were completely misaligned with our authentic truths and our authentic energies. Setting boundaries in the beginning may be uncomfortable, but setting a boundary is about you taking care of you. And it's not about somebody else honoring the boundary, it's about you honoring the boundary for yourself. Because at the end of the day, my energy being in alignment is the most important thing that I can do for myself.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you've ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. My name is Sophia from Sacred You, but with me, and more importantly, is the beautiful Ramona. Thank you so much for joining us, Ramona. I am really excited to get to know you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and share in this space with you.
Good. And we're talking about something that is really close to my heart, and it's like the myth of doing it all, especially for women. We have this thing of having to do everything. So I'd love to get to know more about that. But Ramona, you're a transformational coach and a mindfulness expert with over 20 years helping other women break free from this burnout. I'd love to know, just to start with, would you be able to share what first led you down this path of helping others from overcoming burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, as you said, I've been a holistic wellness facilitator for 20 years. I started out as a massage therapist and then added layers of yoga and energy work, and ultimately started coaching back in 2016 within my own methodologies. And what I was finding is that I was burning out. So ultimately, what led me to focusing my efforts on supporting women that are dealing with burnout was my own experiences with it. I am a naturally inclined to support and help people. And so it was really easy for me to travel down the path of massage therapy. But what happened is I took on this belief structure that it was my job to fix. And so what that did is it had me working ridiculous hours, overgiving, having very little boundaries, and ultimately putting myself into a place where I was physically, mentally, and emotionally just drained and exhausted to the point that I wasn't even able to be fully present as a mother or a partner. And so when I started becoming more aware was in 2012 when I found out that I had a tumor on my thyroid. And energetically speaking, that had to do with your communication center, right? Your throat chakra. And I started doing a lot of deep work around what I'm communicating and how I'm communicating and what am I saying to the world, and really starting to shift that narrative, shift that belief structure, and start speaking a more authentic truth, which then in 2016 is when my company name changed to Authentic Life Journey, because I did the work. I started to really connect with myself. And through the coaching, I started letting go of massage therapy. I shifted away from teaching weekly yoga and moved more into a trainer position where I was guiding other people to teach. And I was starting to notice a trend, and the trend was we're all giving too much. We're all doing too much. We don't have appropriate boundaries. We're operating under structures and paradigms of belief that were completely misaligned with our authentic truths and our authentic energies. And so ultimately, I shifted my entire coaching program to what I'm now guiding women, professional women that are burnt out, stressed out, and overwhelmed through is empowered authenticity. And that's reclaiming your energy, recognizing where you're putting it and what part you're playing in creating the chaos that is involved in finding yourself to burnout. And then when we can do that, then we have power. We have the ability to make a change. And that's where I shifted into becoming a transformational empowerment coach, was to help guide those that find their way to me to step into their power and recognize they can actually create the life that they want versus operate their life based on something that they were trained to do. They can retrain their brain.
Thank you for sharing that. May I just to honor you,
Oh, yeah.
follow that guidance because it is such a needed thing. And we have so
Mhm.
many women in the world, myself included at times, that we have this belief or we have this pressure of having to do it all.
Yeah.
So just thank you for bringing your beautiful self and your passion to the world and helping others. But why do you think that is so deeply ingrained
Oh.
in us? Especially, I said, especially women. A lot of women are mothers and wives, obviously, have their own businesses. Some have their own businesses and everything else in their lives. And we think we have to do it all. Why is it so deeply ingrained in us?
I can only speak really from my own experience and the experience of watching the women that have found their way to me. So, what I can say is, in my observation of my own life experience and the stories that I've heard from my clients, is it was what we were taught. We were taught that we have to do it all. We have to get the best grades and we have to be the top of the class and we have to be the best person on the sports team or the debate team, or you could put any word there. Like, it was this training that we have to do and be it all. And I know from my own personal experience, before I found my way into the holistic wellness field, I worked in a male dominated environment. So I was constantly having to hustle to stay at a pace that was matching that yang energy. It wasn't until I started doing a lot of work around my own imposter syndrome that I could see that I was doing things and breaking ceilings because I had that tenacity and I had that drive and I had that will, but it was breaking me down because I wasn't operating in my own natural frequency as a divine feminine woman. And that, I think, is probably the key element that I see is the yang energy taking over and action oriented and striving and hustling and constantly seeking for approval, constantly trying to be perfect. So these are all the messengers that were showing up over my experience and the experience of the women that found their way to me. And so there's this trained belief that we have to be all of those things. And so to shift that, we have to change the way that we think.
We do. And that takes
Mhm.
time and practice. And
It
also a
does.
bit of assistance, like beautiful women like yourself. So
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that. What is
Yeah.
some of the hidden costs that women experience when they buy into that idea?
Yeah, yeah. So the hidden costs are the one that I see the most is physical ailment. I had one client come in and she had to have a gallbladder removed because that was the physical manifestation of pain that ultimately showed up. Relationship issues, mental and emotional well-being issues. All of these are what happens when we're so out of alignment with ourselves, with our authentic passion and purpose and what we're actually here to do. although my natural inclination was to be of service, the aggression with which I approached it with that yang energy muted out the purpose. And then it no longer was passion, it was all effort. So when we're constantly in that hustle state, we're losing sleep, we're becoming unwell, our relationships are not healthy. And so I think it's a little different for each woman that I come in touch with. But once they start making some dynamic choices and changes, it's uncomfortable, but they start to shift some of that and start to have more ease in their body, in their mind, and in their emotional state.
Mm. And again, that takes time.
Yeah. It took you that many years to get there. It's going to take you effort to get back. And if we go just to the physiology of it, the brain has to be trained with a new neural pathway in order for it to become a new behavior.
Yes, yes, it's so very true. And things, especially feeling the uncomfortableness, go
Mhm.
through that. And why do you think it's feels so uncomfortable?
Because it's foreign. Because it's unknown. We haven't experienced it. I had a client that I spoke with today, and we've been working together over 3 years. And so we did a bit of a reflective session today where we looked back where she was when we started and where we are today. And one of the things that we talked about was that she's in this new relationship and she's being very yin and she's allowing him to be the one that makes the plans and opens the door and is being the divine masculine. And she was like, and it's really uncomfortable. And I was like, why do you think that is? She goes, because I've never experienced it before. I said, that's right. So, yeah, when we're growing, we're uncomfortable because it's not something that we're used to. And so it's like I'm putting on a new suit and it doesn't quite fit yet.
It's giving ourselves permission and
Mhm.
allowing ourselves to receive and to experience. And
Yeah.
a lot of women, yes, that is very new because in general terms, women are the ones that are the doers.
Hmm.
Now in today's world, but there were times before when they weren't doing so much and it was back in connection with their divine feminine. So yeah,
And when we were much more connected to earth.
yes, very much so. I'd love to go back a little bit, Romana. You talked about the imposter syndrome. Let's go into that. What
Yeah.
is the imposter
Yeah.
syndrome? We hear about it all over the place. But for anyone who's watching or listening and may not know exactly what that means, what
Yeah.
is it and how does it show up in our lives?
Yeah. So the imposter syndrome is when we are acting, we're moving ourselves into a place of doing something that may actually be aligned for us, but we are having to fight the ego's beliefs around whether or not we are qualified to do it, whether or not we are the right person to do it, whether or not we are capable of doing it. So I, again, I can speak to my own as I've been making some changes with my business over the last year. I went through a lot of imposter syndrome work because one of the pieces of my business as I'm evolving is I want to go into corporations and I want to teach women in that environment some of the teachings that I have around mindfulness and living with intention and claiming your greatness, right? And so there was this element of, am I going to fit in that environment? And so I really had to process through that it doesn't really matter what environment that I'm in. What matters is that I show up steady in myself. And if I'm steady in myself and I feel aligned in myself, then whomever it is that needs to hear what I have to say is going to hear it. And so I started working for another company, going into corporate offices and teaching their content a year ago just to start, again, getting uncomfortable, putting myself in that uncomfortable space so I can work through that energy of feeling like, oh, am I really capable of doing that? Am I really good enough to do that? And what I'll tell you is the first couple of months, there was a lot of effort and it felt really uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't know if I did very good or not. And in the last few months, it shifted in December. I went to an event. I went to an event and I spoke there. And I just was like, I'm just going to do me. I'm like, I'm not going to worry too much about the notes in this slide. I'm going to look at this slide and I'm going to let my authentic voice just share what I feel needs to be shared in that moment. And that it was this shift when I stopped putting effort towards trying to do it and just allowing myself to be myself and share what authentically came through. And what happened is, as I was leaving, I had a number of people approach me and they were like, that was so great. We really appreciated that. And it just felt like I shifted out of that mindset. Even when we're in imposter syndrome, it doesn't mean that we're not going to break free of it. It means, are we going to sit with it and be a witness to it and allow it to be a messenger of growth, or are we going to let it keep us from our growth? And to me, that's the opportunity with imposter syndrome is, do I choose to give my ego the power and say, you're right, I'm not good enough? Or do I let my heart show me that I am valuable exactly where I am, exactly when I'm there, and exactly how I'm supposed to be?
I like that. Thank
Mhm.
you for sharing that and explaining it. It makes so much sense. It's when the ego questions everything that we do,
Yeah.
that we're not good enough, that we can't do that. Yet we can turn that around and use it as an opportunity to step into the power of who we're meant to be.
And that development of those thoughts that have us question are not from our authentic self, they're from our training. It goes back to those trained beliefs. So what script is running in your head, right? And who's that voice? Like, is it my mom? Is it my dad? Is it this teacher? Is it this past love relationship? What is it that is creating that script that I'm living under? And do I choose to live under someone else's script for me, or do I create my own? And for me, it's I create my own. And that's what I ultimately hope to guide anyone that I'm gifted the opportunity to guide to do as well.
Thank you. Just writing all that down, taking notes. It's
Mhm.
one wonderful conversation. And like I said, I'd like to honor you for bringing all your wisdom to
Mm.
Pathways to Wellbeing podcast and sharing it with the world.
Yeah.
Really marvelous what you do. You mentioned mindfulness.
Mhm.
How does mindfulness, being mindful, really help us break the do it all cycle?
Yeah. It's intentional, right? We have to choose to become aware of what it is that we're saying, how that is affecting our life, and whether or not it still holds any kind of value. And then if it doesn't, how do we want to do it instead? And so for me, mindfulness is learning to step back into that witness space and allow ourselves to step into experiences intentionally. And the path to being mindful is becoming aware of what it is that we're doing that is or is not working, and then actively choosing how we're going to move our energy forward. So when I'm mindfully moving my energy forward, I'm not filled with frustration or anger or agitation. I am filled with peace and ease and joy because I know that I'm intentionally choosing every step that I'm taking. And each of those steps ultimately leads me towards what I'm manifesting for my life. So we don't get to mindfulness by osmosis. it happens through intentional acts of practice. And so whether that is a practice of journaling, so we can move into that relationship with our thoughts and with what we're thinking and what we're saying and doing, or whether it is through meditation and learning to quiet the mind so we can observe things from a space that is more grounded and intentional versus anxiety ridden, which then creates more story that's out of alignment. These kinds of practices are what ultimately helps us to then manifest our life in a direction that is aligned. Understanding your energy. So I teach from the chakra system. And so for me, I am teaching my clients to understand their energy, understand when something is showing up that's misaligned. Okay, what energy center is that coming from? What practice can I put in place that's going to help me realign that energy? So, for instance, if someone comes in with victim mentality, oh, the world is against me, all these things keep happening to me, this is a root chakra imbalance. So you have to shift out of the victim archetype into the mother archetype. Okay, what do I need to feel safe? What do I need to do to feel stable and strong and present and in my own self in this moment? I have a number of clients that anxiety is the number one sign that they walk in the door with. So that is about you feeling present and not being in the future.
Okay,
So, yeah.
thank you. And that is really interesting that when our energy centers, our chakras, as we know them, get out of balance, get out of alignment, then that can really affect our whole day, our whole life.
Every one of those energy centers holds a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual messenger. It's whether or not you understand them, you're educated in them. And then if you have the power to change it, you have tools, you have information, you have practices that you can apply that's going to help shift your frequency into the empowered state versus disempowered.
And this is something that you help women achieve and experience
Yes.
to find out
Yes.
which energy center is really out of alignment and what they
Mhm.
can do about it. Have you
Yep.
ever experienced someone whose all chakras, energy centers are out of balance?
Oh, yes. I don't know that I've had anyone come in that's had all of any one center that's really been really centered because the centers affect one another.
Yes.
So if I'm out of alignment in my root, I'm out of alignment in my crown probably. And then that crown and root also they're the two polarities. So whatever's going on in between those two is probably misaligned in my observation. I really believe that it's about, first of all, getting connected to your heart space, and then once we can have an open heart and we can love ourselves and we can nurture ourselves, then we're able to start working through some of those other spaces. But that's not something that I wasn't raised to be unconditionally loving to myself. So a lot of my work is starting with how do you feel about yourself and how can we help you have a better relationship with you?
Yeah. And that really is the foundation of it all,
Mhm.
especially for women who are entrepreneurs. Quite often, when we have a better relationship with ourselves, we're having a better relationship with everyone and everything around us,
Yeah.
including our businesses. And
Yes,
again,
indeed.
this is so much, it is ingrained because it's taught to us, especially when we have businesses. That comes first, and we forget about ourselves, where it's
Right.
actually very connected. So, yeah.
Yes, and I've actually been talking a lot lately about that we need to switch that to priority level. That it's if you're on the bottom of your list and everything else is in front of you, if you fall apart, everything else will fall apart. So you have to put yourself at the top of the list, and then everything else comes more easily and more authentically and in flow because you are taking care of self first.
Yes, it's a hard lesson to learn.
Agreed.
We all think, and again, this is a generalization, and a lot of us think that that won't happen to me. I'll get
Yeah.
eventually, but first I have to do this and this.
Yeah.
And we forget about ourselves and end up getting sick and everything around us collapses. Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful conversation.
Mm.
Thank you. And for someone who feels that they can't slow down, what's one small step that they can take today to start creating space for themselves? You mentioned meditation and journaling. Is that something good to start with, or is there something else that we can do?
I think the very first thing that I like to teach anyone is awareness, because without awareness, nothing else is possible. So if you're listening to this, you're probably already becoming aware that something's not working. So we have to develop awareness of, okay, something isn't working, and seek out the support that will ultimately help you. But as far as a physical practice that someone could do is learn to connect to your breath. Learn to be more connected to breathing. Evaluate, am I breathing high in my chest, or am I bringing it down into my belly and just bringing more oxygen into the body? Because oxygen is our life force energy. So if we can bring in more prana, more energy into the body, we can have more clarity. We can feel more energetic. I had a situation a few days ago. I had to do a talk and I was yawning and I was really tired. So I just started doing some Kapalabhati breathing and brought my energy level up. And then I wasn't yawning anymore because I got this flush of oxygen into my brain.
Would you like to demonstrate that or explain that?
I don't want to demonstrate that breathing technique because it is an advanced one, and so
Okay.
that's not something that I would just teach. But you could box breathing, where you're taking inhale, pause, exhale, pause. So it's a 4 count in, a 4 count pause, a 4 count out, and a 4 count pause. So that's a breathing technique that I teach a lot of people that are having anxiety. Just do this every day. Wake up every morning and start your day doing a 4 count breath. And that seems to be a huge benefit to anyone that I've taught it to.
Thank you. Certainly
Yeah.
put that into practice and recommend it to other people. I do a lot of breath work myself, and it helps so much
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
getting through our days. Because
Yes.
whilst
Yeah.
you're letting go of all that we hold within us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it definitely will help bring in more energy, and that's what we need. We need to have more aligned energy.
And how can women, especially high achieving women, really develop the ability to set boundaries
Mm.
without feeling guilty or even feeling that they're falling behind?
Yeah. A lot of what I teach in my program is about energy alignment. And I was just talking about this yesterday or 2 days ago at a talk that I gave around reclaiming your energy and alignment. And when we are more aware of how we feel, then that can better help us to organize how we're going to use our energy for that day. I would first say, know that setting a boundary is not, you're not doing anything wrong, even if somebody else doesn't agree with your boundary. So know that setting boundaries in the beginning may be uncomfortable, but setting a boundary is about you taking care of you. And it's not about somebody else honoring the boundary, it's about you honoring the boundary for yourself. And you want to become aware of where you're giving yourself away, and then set boundaries around that so that you can feel more settled in yourself. So if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, I have this project I'm interested in doing with you," and then, the project sounds great, but then they give me one piece of the project that's misaligned, I have to then come back and say, "Okay, all of this sounds great, but there's this one piece that isn't working for me." And I have to be willing to speak that truth. That is me speaking my truth and saying, "This is not in alignment for me." I just had this happen. I had a project that I've responded back and said, "I'm okay with all of this except for this one part, and we need to address that." And if that person responds and says, "Great, let's move forward," I can address that. Or if that person comes back and says, "Yeah, no, I really want to do it this way," then I will say, "Thank you so much for the opportunity. I wish you well," and I will walk away, because at the end of the day, my energy being in alignment is the most important thing that I can do for myself. And if I say yes to a no, then the only person I'm causing suffering to is me. So that boundary is about me not suffering.
Mm. I like that. Me not suffering. And
And yeah, and we've been trained to say yes to no's.
exactly.
So we have to start learning what the no's are.
And say no and no to them because really in the outcome, we're the ones that are living our lives.
Mhm.
And our life really is meant to be enjoyed. We don't
Yeah.
have to suffer.
Yeah.
It's learning how to say no.
Yeah. And what I would say to you is if you're having a fear of missing out, FOMO, trust that when you say yes to the right places and no to the right places, the divine is going to give you more.
And that is
So,
very true. I've experienced that myself.
mhm.
We really have got to start to tune into, as you said, those energy centers, to tune into our guidance and trust that what we do say no to, we're not meant to. And much more bigger and greater opportunities will come by.
Yes. And I'm telling you that from somebody who said yes to a lot of no's. That was a process of learning for sure. And now I'm a whole lot clearer on what's a yes and what's a no, and I'm willing to stand in the no's. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And in your experience, Ramona, what's one of the biggest emotional shifts that women can experience that happens for women when they finally prioritize intentional space in their lives?
Joy. There's more joy because most oftentimes by the time someone gets to me, they're so lacking joy in their life because they have forgotten where they end and something else begins. They've gotten so entangled in it that it's sucking them dry of their life force energy. And like I said, I just had this client today, and watching her over these 3 years and seeing the hills and valleys and the efforts that she had to really take and to see where she is right now. She's literally manifested every single thing that when she first came in to see me 3 years ago, she said, these are the things that I want, and this is not what I'm living right now. And just recently, this last piece of those desires came online, and it took a lot of effort to work through the discomforts and learning the places for the yes and the place for the no. And she said a lot of yeses at places that were no's and had to learn and learn. And now all of a sudden she's in this really beautiful space. And it was such a joy to just be the witness to that. And so for me, that's the other piece. I love to see the transformation. I love to watch someone blossom. It's just so magical. And then to know that their lives are more abundantly joyful for them is a gift.
And thank you for sharing that gift. And I agree with you. To see that in other people, we witness it here within the Sacred You community, that when people are starting to blossom and grow and put themselves first, magic does happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about overcoming burnout and self-worth and everything else that we've discussed, what would that be?
Slow down. Just slow down. We're not in that big of a hurry. I This guy lives on my desk to remind me that there's nothing that is going to be done at a pace of speed that cannot also be done at a pace of slow. And in all honesty, it's a whole lot more enjoyable when I'm slowing down.
Mm. Taking time to experience, taking time to enjoy those spaces and to breathe so
Yeah.
much, even to go out and smell the roses, the flowers, and to be in nature. Yes,
Yeah.
joy. Thank you. Just slow down and experience.
Yeah.
What would be one morning ritual in your life that you swear by? How do you start off the day?
A cup of coffee or tea on the back patio, listening to the birds singing. On the days that I don't do that, I tend to find that I'm moving a little faster than I want to. When I start there, it definitely has a completely different energy frequency that I'm operating at.
And on those days that you don't start off with a tea or coffee on your back patio and things are going a little bit faster, maybe starting to feel overwhelmed, do you have a go-to mantra or a go-to exercise to bring you back into that centered space?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the mantras that I use is I have enough time. There is time for everything. Everything is accomplishable. I will accomplish everything. So something of in that range, basically. Stop thinking you don't have enough time. Essentially, but it's in the positive because we want to stay in that positive space with our mantras. But really, there's enough time for everything.
There is. It depends on what we're prioritizing. And if I could share a little bit, I've been reading, I love the Tao Te Ching, and I read a lot of stuff. He has a book, you may have already read it, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which is his interpretation of the Tao. But one of it is all about when we let go of all the doingness, all the idea of everything that we have to be and do, and stop and connect with that creative space within, then all the time and energy that we need appears. Because as you said, we've got the time, we've got all the time in the world. It's just in today's technology, in today's world, we fill it with the doingness. I thought the pandemic was an opportunity to learn the lesson, but it's actually gone the other way because of technology, and we've got doing everything online now. We can do so much more, and we forget about the being.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Wayne Dyer was one of my major teachers whenever I was beginning to make these shifts. His books were really a huge part of my journey. Yeah, I love that message.
I totally agree with you. He was a very special being. And I'd love to know, we were chatting about an offer that you would like to do. You have a 5-day program.
So it's actually a 4-month coaching program. So I have Empowered Authenticity. It is a 4-month immersive experience of self-exploration to help professional women to reclaim their energy and ultimately step into their power and passions and live from an authentic space. And yeah, that program is it's an evolved expression of my original coaching program, but it is very powerful work if you're ready. And that's what I would say. You have to be ready to get uncomfortable and do uncomfortable things and work through the discomfort of your mind trying to talk you into not doing the work. It will take intention and effort every day, but if you do the work, the payoff is priceless.
Thank you. And for everyone who is listening or watching, do click on the links below and check out everything that Ramona has to offer, including her program and everything else. And Ramona, before we finish up, just a couple more questions. If we do have someone listening today who's feeling exhausted, but also scared of letting go of the doing it all, what's one thing that you would like them to know?
You have the answers. Just have to get quiet enough to hear how to get there. So know that there's no cookie cutter answer to slowing down. It's a process. And if you can just give yourself the space to get connected, all of your answers are within you.
You just have to be quiet enough to listen. And yes, and I agree that we have everything within us. Most of it is all covered up and we don't allow that space. So thank you. And one last question, Ramona. Is there any other question that I could have asked you? And how would you answer?
No, I feel like everything that is needing to be asked was asked, and the spirit usually drives the bus on that one.
That is true. So thank you. Thank you. It has been a wonder to talk to you today. on the Pathways to Wellbeing. I'm really excited. I'm going to be checking out everything that you have to offer and your program and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Click on those links below. And I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to be here.
Thank you for joining us today for the conversation with Ramona, who shared her experience of letting go of the idea of having to do it all. Please do click on the links below to find out more on everything that Ramona has to offer. And for more empowering conversations, tools, and strategies, do follow Sacred You on all our social media or visit our website at www.sacredyou, that's the letter U, .love. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button or give us a so that you never miss another episode. This is your life. You have all the answers, so it is time to put yourself first. Become quiet enough and listen. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. Stay grounded, stay inspired, stay connected, and until next time, keep walking your pathway to well-being.